You've probably never heard of them, but there is something called the Local Government Business Forum. And you're probably thinking, God, local government's boring enough already. Well, it used to be until your rates started going through the roof, and then suddenly everybody started getting really interested. About 5 years ago, I would say, and that interest has only become more intense. Not in terms of candidates, because I think the number of candidates standing at this council election are poor, is very poor in comparison with previous times. But the issues are just huge. And central government's pushing more and more responsibility onto local government, and that's costing more and more money. But for the last 5 years, I think, there has been a local government business forum in this country, which I would mean is probably more of a sort of a lobby organisation. But they put out an annual report each year, and this year they've put out a sort of these are the issues to address report and published it. It hasn't received as much media attention as it should. In fact, I might be just the first person that is asking them about it. But they are a very, very, very influential group of people. The local government business forum is composed of Business New Zealand, so that's the old Employers and Manufacturers Association, the Federated Farmers of New Zealand, Infrastructure New Zealand, the New Zealand Chambers of Commerce. I think the Tauranga Chief Executive of the Chamber of Commerce is its chair at the moment, the New Zealand Forest Owners Association, the New Zealand Initiative, who are the secretariat, the think tank. The New Zealand Initiative used to be, I think it used to be Business Roundtable in a previous life. And then, ironically, the Retirement Villages Association of New Zealand as well. That's a fairly powerful group of people who come together in this forum. They've just published their newsletter on effective local government, and joining us to talk about it is their administrator, but also one of the New Zealand Initiative's leading lights, Nick Clark, and he joins us now. Nick, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Michael. Hi there.
That's a fair description, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the lot of you.
Yeah, that's the number. That's the forum. The members of the forum. We've been around actually for quite a while. We were established back in 1994.
Oh, really?
To promote greater efficiency and effectiveness in local government. And obviously, as you rightly say, Michael, over the last few years in particular, the concerns around, spending and rates and regulation has only grown, and it's become, particularly acute the last few years.
Yeah. Okay. You've just put out a report, essentially, leading into this current election. Listen, one of my observations is that there's actually quite a lack of candidates. I know there's 1,400, and it seems a lot throughout New Zealand, but many of them are only sort of 5 standing for 4 positions or 3 for 2. There are a number of uncontested seats at Council's Community Board in New Zealand as well. What do you put that down to? What do you ascribe that paucity of candidates to?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a bit of, generally speaking, there's a bit of apathy out there, so a bit of exhaustion. So if you look at turnout figures, it's only about 40% on average over the last few council election cycles.
Yeah,
and that kind of, and local government kind of gets, even though it's really important and does a lot of things that we all interact with on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't get a lot of attention. It's sort of the poor relation of central government. Everyone's seen, whenever there's a problem, the default is, the government's got to fix it. And that's a bit unfortunate, because local government actually interacts with our lives probably on a day basis more than central government. But yeah, we've got a low turnout. It's been pretty lackluster. I think a lot of people are also in more recent years become a bit sort of scared of local government in a way, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of big issues and a lot of contentious issues. And I think I've been reading that there's been a lot of people feeling bullied and intimidated, and afraid to put their heads up and actually get involved. And that's a worry too, because we need really good people to be on these these organisations. They are big businesses, if you want to call them a business. They have millions of dollars in revenue. They do so many important things, in there, whether it's roading, water, waste, and then all the other various things they do. And they're things that are so important. We really do need really good people. We need competitive elections so that the best people end up coming to the top.
Yes, but that's not the case at the moment. Does it worry you that the quality of candidates or the quality of local government, and I'm talking about the governance side rather than the staff, isn't up to snuff?
Oh, look, I think it's pretty variable. I think there are probably some really good people out there. But, as you say, if people can get elected just by putting their name forward, then that's not necessarily going to be helpful. And definitely we need a stronger calibre of people. And I think another concern that I think some people have is that, yes, they get elected maybe, and then they end up being a bit toothless because they don't really have necessarily the power or the influence or the ability to set the agenda that maybe, say, an MP or a minister might have in central government. And that's because, the CEO and the staff have a lot of power in these organisations, and they get to set the agenda. They basically put the papers forward. And, often it's hard for councillors to get good information from their staff. They can sometimes feel stifled in terms of things like, codes of conduct being really, impeding on freedom of expression and things like that. And I think that sort of environment might put off some good people that might otherwise think, I can really make a difference here.
I think you're right about that one. The balance between governors or the governates, those elected and staff, seems to have tipped very strongly in favour of staff over the last 20 years. What do you ascribe that to?
Oh, I think part of that is they, the staff are sort of, kind of a permanent fixture. So they as councils come and go, they stay. They develop really strong informational knowledge advantages. Local governments become increasingly complex. There's a lot of regulation and policy that councils have to comply with, and that requires a lot of very technical knowledge. And those staff have got a huge knowledge and information advantage. And that, I think that is a real issue and if you're not having the strong people being elected to council, that imbalance becomes even stronger.
People with wage salaries, small medium enterprises, can't stand for council because of the way they're set up. It almost excludes people, except those who are self-employed, just another word for consultant or unemployed really, or retired, and that's it. It's not much of a pool to draw from.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. And I think that one of the articles in our newsletter refers to that we need leaders, not just candidates. We need people that have commercial acumen. They've got a good understanding and focus on the core things local government does. They need to be good collaborative leaders rather than, as we say, just treating council roles as stepping stones or retirement hobbies. And I do notice that certainly in some, particularly regional councils, quite a lot of activists get involved. And the working for being a regional council, for example, might be the best job they ever get before they become an MP.
Correct. You're spot on that one. Mind you, you're watching also regional council staff being infested and infected by eco-activists as well too, aren't you?
Yep. Yeah, certainly that's what I've been hearing from people that I know, particularly whether it's down your neck of the woods in Otago or various other regional councils, definitely.
Try Wellington. Listen, all right, now, the Local Government Business Forum nonetheless has put out essentially a bit of a wish list of issues that must be addressed. We've just talked on some of them now. What do you consider to be the most important that candidates need to be addressing in the next month or so?
Yeah, I think they need to really take a really close look at their budgets, the council budgets, and the excessive growth in spending over the last few years. Like in our newsletter, we make the point that that local government spending in the 23-24 year, I think it was the 22-23 year, was 17%. Then there was a 14% increase the following year, 23-24, and then there was a slightly smaller increase last year. But those increases are enormous when they come one on top of the other. And I know at Otago Regional Council, you've had some massive rates increases down there. And they need to really take a good hard look at those budgets. They need to take a good hard look at the rates and how they actually fund them, whether it's rates or charges. And they need to just run the rule over everything. And
I guess the difference between regional councils, though, and city or district councils is that regional councils they don't really have any infrastructure at all. So they can't argue what the district and the city councils can argue,
Yes.
that the cost of infrastructure and of delayed capital works, say whether it's water reticulation or sewerage, they can at least argue, well, there's a reason why your rates have gone up. Regional councils can't make that excuse, can they?